What's up, everybody? My name is Jason, and welcome to the $10,000 EIDL grant stimulus update. I was wrong. It is Monday, March the 22nd, 2021. Please do me each favor. Give this video a thumbs up, hashtag EIDL with your comments below. And if you're on Twitter, I ask you please follow me at Remote Online. That's at Remote Online, because we're beginning to make major amounts of progress with a half a dozen senators and congressmen and women to get you 10 grand, regardless of size or location. The removal of the loan cap so you can have another chance at 6 months of working capital. And then ultimately, of course, now that they've extended the payments out a year on the loans, we want to get them wiped out altogether so you never pay the SBA a single dime. All right, as I said in the open, I want to do a mea culpa. And it's related to the $5,000 supplemental grant. And special thanks to Max Maher, who I think has now done 3 videos to try to get to the bottom of it. And it turns out that Brian SCHATZ, not the only senator at Senate.gov, was wrong for the last 2 weeks when he said the supplemental $5,000 targeted advance was for all income communities. Apparently, Max's contact got a hold of Senator SCHATZ and others, I'm sure by now, and said, no, our interpretation of the law is for low-income communities only. Now, I'm going to explain why I think that is a blessing in disguise, as I always do. But I want to set the table because we have thousands of new subscribers over the course of the last few months who think I'm just the guy that screams and hollers and smacks the desk and swears way too fucking much and gets attacked like you wouldn't believe on other channels. All of that is true. But I'm also a small business owner. I love Tupac too, by the way. But I started this channel back in April of last year, because I had formed a company called Remote Sales. We help companies sell from home. Pretty self-explanatory. I had accidentally or luckily got in front of a major trend. But in April, May, and June, I suffered almost a 70% economic loss. As one example, I had a commercial furniture client who made all of their product in China. And it was within an hour of Wuhan where this madness began. So you can only imagine. I got absolutely gutted. I lost over 70% of my business in March, April, and May. I applied for the grant. I thought I was going to get that $10,000 within 72 hours. I didn't. I applied on the 1st of April. They pulled my credit on the 22nd. I got $1,000 per employee. About a month later, on May the 26th, I got 6 months of working capital as a loan. And the formula is gross revenue minus your cost of goods and services divided by 2. So if you're doing $100,000 a year and your cost of goods or services, depending on what your business is 10 grand, you take 90,000 divided by 2, you should have gotten a loan of $45,000 or thereabouts. Well, it was over the course of the next few weeks, as we went from April into May, that I began to fall in love with some of the people on this channel. And we were small. We struggled to get to 5,000. I think it took me 2 months to get to 5,000. And then it slowly but steadily picked up steam throughout the summer. But for all of March, all of April, all of May, all of June, and up until July the 20th, I was the con man, right? You read some of the comments on other channels to this day. He's lying. He's wrong about everything. He doesn't know anything about the stock market. On and on and on it goes. But for those first 4.5 months, we had no bills. I was doing, along with many of you, the OGs, I was dreaming our world into existence. I kept doing the same video with the same title over and over and over again. I said I want $10,000 with a balance thereof. I want the removal of the loan caps, put them back at $2 million where they belong, and I want the EIDL loan forgiven altogether. Big Ben Cardin does too as well. I've been saying that, ladies and gentlemen, almost every day for an entire year. And those first 4 or 5 months, the amount of hate was through the roof because I had no evidence that what the fuck I was saying was going to come true. And then all of a sudden on July the 20th, the EIDL for Small Business Act, known as S4227, was brought into the Senate. Sponsored by Jackie Rosen, a Democrat in Nevada, and John Cornyn, a Republican in Texas. Jackie has an office in Vegas, middle income. John's got one in Dallas, middle income community. But for whatever reason, it kind of disappeared as we headed in towards the election. But then we got the Problem Solvers Caucus in August, which was $50 billion of EIDL grant money, regardless of size or location. S4227, by the way, was $80 billion for the grant, another $100 billion for the loan. It wasn't up until we got to the HEROES Act, the $2.2 trillion one, that passed in the House right before the election that we saw, for the first time, low-income community. And we now learn, as of Max's video this morning, that it appears the $5,000 supplemental is also for a low-income community member. But here we are, ladies and gentlemen. It's now springtime. An entire year has gone by, and what's happened since I launched this channel? I've helped raise over $60 million in EIDL loan and grant money on this channel, never charged anyone a single dime. I've personally responded to over 100,000 comments. Show me somebody else anywhere that's done that in the first 12 months of YouTube. I've personally given away most of my AdSense revenue, almost $25,000 in the past 3 months by way of the Cash App. And of course, I will not rest until every single person, low, middle, high, black, brown, white, tribal, Hispanic, rural, all the buzzwords that the Democrats are using right now in order to suck up as much low-income community votes as possible. I will not rest. I will not go anywhere. I will not give up until it's 10 grand or the balance thereof, removal of the caps, another 6 months of working capital. And I want the loan forgiven altogether, so you never pay the SBA a dime. It should be treated just like PPP, so that if you spend it on payroll, rent, utilities, business credit cards, etc., you pay the SBA nothing. And thanks to Miss Isabel Guzman and Maria Salazar, who put the bill forward in the House a couple of weeks ago, we have another year to fight for that loan forgiveness. And I believe it's going to happen right before the 2022 elections. But in the meantime, it's a reality that it looks like nothing but low-income community folks are getting $10,000 or as much as $15,000 of EIDL grant money. I wish it was otherwise, but here's again the silver lining that the snowflakes will never get. Ladies and gentlemen, always remember, when it comes to the law of attraction, you can only attract what you are. You can only attract into your life or your business what you are. And if you're among the snowflakes who are out there constantly, it's not just me, it goes out everybody. Poor me, woe is me, Jason's lying about this, he's full of shit about that. They're constantly attracting more and more low vibration into their life. More and more anxiety, guilt, and shame. It's at the bottom of the Hawkins scale if you know anything about law of attraction. I, on the other hand, along with many of you, as frustrating as this is, as tough as the last 12 months of commitment has been, I see the glass as half full. I see our brothers and sisters of every background in low-income communities getting $10,000 or even $15,000 because of channels like this, as well as LA Late, Speak and See, Rod Squad, Dan over at Allegedly, Aubrey Janik, Andrew Cartwright, JJ the CPA, Max Maher, shout out to him, and any and everybody else that I happen to leave out. All of us, what is that, about 10 or 12 at most, are representing 9 million people in the queue. 5.7 million got a grant, 3.7 million got over $200 billion of loans. And yet when you hashtag EIDL on YouTube or even Twitter, you're going to find about a dozen content creators that are willing to put their head in the guillotine and swing the bat and continue each and every fucking day to put out content, to write emails, to call senators, to do everything possible, including hammer 7 or 8 people on Twitter relentlessly each and every day as we speak, in an effort to get you 10 grand, the removal of the caps, another 6 months of working capital, a loan equal or greater than you already got, and then wipe the whole thing out altogether. Only 10 or 12 of us. There are thousands of snowflakes and haters that have been with us every step of the way. But we all need to give a debt of gratitude, not just to this channel, but to everybody else I just mentioned. If it was not for those 10 or 12 people that were willing to withstand the brutal force of hate and negativity nonstop, because this has not been easy. It's not been easy to get 40% of you $15,000. That would not have happened were it not for this channel and the others I just mentioned. For the first 5 months, we had nothing. There was no bill. There was no chance. So I'm telling all of you right now that are willing, as frustrated as you might be, to see the glass as half full, realize the fact that they're leaving out middle and high income communities and giving 10 to as much as 15 grand if you've seen a 50% economic loss and you got fewer than 10 employees for that last 5. The fact that they're leaving out all of the middle and high income, 2/3 of small business owners in this country, improves our chances of getting Jackie's bill, which if you saw my video the other day, it's a fact, it's on the floor. Some people say I lie about everything, I'm wrong about everything. Well, I'm wrong about almost nothing, except what I just admitted to. Everything I've been saying now, almost verbatim in Jackie Rosen's recent video, is coming true. There's really a bill. There's really bipartisan support. There's really over a dozen senators that have stepped up in the last week, including some in the 2.5-hour Isabel Guzman ceremony, to voice support for Jackie and the bill. And I'm convinced now that they've totally turned their back, with an election coming up in just over 12 to 18 months, they cannot afford to turn their back on Black, Hispanic, tribal, and rural voters, those 4 buzzwords they used the other day in the hearing, that happen to live, oh, by the way, in middle income communities. Do you know how many Blacks? I live in Atlanta. How many Blacks I know that are small business owners that happen to live in middle or even high income communities down in Buckhead? Hundreds that I know personally. Probably tens of thousands that are in the idle queue right now. Jackie Rosen realizes in middle income Vegas, as does John Cornyn, a Republican in middle income Dallas, they can't go into the election in 2022. And that's probably why they extended it out another year. It's not just to give you another year to rebuild your company, ladies and gentlemen. It's to give them another 6 months to a year to get this right. To get EIDL Small Business Act through the House, hopefully before the summer. And to get the damn loans forgiven, because if you go into the booth next year in 2022 as a Black, Hispanic, tribal, aka Indian, or rural voter of a middle income community in particular, whose fault is it going to be that you didn't get the 10 grand? It's not going to be Trump. It's not going to be Mnuchin. It's not going to be Miss Versace scarf herself. It's going to be the Democrats that control every branch of government, the House, the Senate, and the White House. There is no excuse at this point, Chuck Schumer. As I told you again this morning, what is stopping you with all this bipartisan support for calling a vote right now in the Senate? They have over 60 votes. John Cornyn, Ted Cruz is another. There are multiple Republican senators right now of the Republican Party that are ready to vote yes or yay in favor of Jackie and John Cornyn's bill. I predict it's going to be close to 70 or 75 once they bring it up for a vote. So what's the holdup, Chuck Schumer? You control every branch of government, and you must know by now, because we've certainly given you an earful, especially in the last 30 to 60 days, that if you go into 2022 and you have millions of middle-income community voters right now in the idle queue that get the big fuck you with respect to the $10,000 grant, or that they get no more loan money, as Karen Mills, pinned in the top comment, former head of the SBA, called for on December 10th in Big Ben Cardin's Facebook Live. Where are you going to be? I'll tell you where you're going to be. You're going to be exactly where Vegas is saying you're going to be. Losing the House and probably the Senate. And that might be why Nancy Pelosi announced she's retiring in 2022, because she sees the writing on the wall. But Chuck Schumer, you have a chance to hold as much power as possible, and more importantly, save the middle and high income community voters that were promised $10,000 regardless of size, location, or credit score by way of the CARES Act. Remove the goddamn caps, put them back at $2 million where the bill calls for them to belong. And as Big Ben Cardin and others have said repeatedly, in the last 6 months, we want the EIDL loan forgiven altogether. We thank Ms. Salazar and Ms. Isabel Guzman, current head, for giving us another year to work this out. So yes, ladies and gentlemen, I was wrong, along with Senator Brian Schatz and others, about the $5,000 supplemental grant being for everyone. I was simply repeating what he had on his website for more than 2 weeks. But what I'm not wrong about is my commitment to you, your family, and your small business. There isn't anybody on this fucking planet that's been more drilled down on one subject. Hashtag EIDL, and shout out once again to all the other channels, because we would not be here today, 15 G's going to our low-income community friends, were it not for all of the above. And mark my words, as I've been saying now for the last 12 months, there is a day coming where Jackie's vote is going to happen in the Senate, and it's going to get bipartisan support. It'll sail through the House, and I'm predicting before Memorial Weekend, there is going to be 10 grand, regardless of size, location, or credit score, especially now with Biden's new proposal. The removal of the caps, another 6 months of working capital, i.e. a loan equal or greater to than you already received. And yes, now that we have another year before we got to make a payment, I will not rest until the whole fucking thing is wiped out altogether. So until next time, always remember, ladies and gentlemen, I'm occasionally wrong, but I also love you, including the snowflakes. Until next time, thanks for watching.